Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Am I the Jerk? Our first post is by Bad-in-Law. Am I the jerk for ruining my brother-in-law's reputation by telling the truth to my friends? My in-laws are currently furious with me for hurting my brother-in-law's feelings and reputation with my friend group. Recently, my single brother-in-law, Chris, 38M, has been hinting at me to introduce him to women, and I've refused. Chris has been single for almost 3 years, and he has been having a hard time meeting women. He tried flirting with my friend, but she had been cold and non-receptive. This was my friend Grace, 35F. Grace is not interested in him due to his inability to be faithful, and she wasn't physically attracted to him. He tried to flirtatiously engage with her during a small party my husband and I had last Saturday. My husband got a long-awaited promotion, so we had a little party. During the party, Grace had grown frustrated with his incessant flirting, and at some point told him in no uncertain terms that she found him physically ugly, and that his physical ugliness is only surpassed by the ugliness of his character. She told him this in private, and so no other guest had heard her scathing review of his personhood. Chris left the party. The following afternoon, while my husband and I were nursing a wicked hangover, my in-laws, to my surprise, called to scold me for having abused and embarrassed Chris. After a few minutes of us shouting back and forth on the phone, I reminded my husband that handling his family was his job. So while my husband argued with his parents, I reviewed our security cameras. And honey, Grace verbally tore him apart. Grace reminded him that he cheated and divorced his late ex-wife, Lily, while she was battling cancer, and that he then got dumped by the mistress for being a cheater, as he continued to cheat on her. Grace told him that he wasn't a man of any significant value other than the few coins he had in the bank, and that there's no way in hell she'd entertain his delusions of sexual grandeur and beauty. She also said the only thing he had going for him was his overbloated job title as an executive director to a third-rate company that will probably collapse in the next 5 years. As a parting gift, she told him to consider some cosmetic work to improve his haggard appearance, and perhaps to start praying for divine intervention to fix his rotten soul, since there is no way a psychotherapist could ever come close to fixing whatever is wrong with him. My in-laws and Chris feel that I shouldn't have told my friends what Chris did because he's now perceived by my girlfriends as a terrible person. I told them he was unfortunately a terrible person, and people would have always found out what happened between him and the late great Lily. I then discussed what happened with my colleague Natasha. She said I was cruel for having told my friend group about what happened between Chris and his ex-wife, because Chris had grown a lot in the past 2 years and didn't need to be known for the worst thing he has ever done. Natasha is dating Chris's friend, so she also knows him. For your information, I've only discussed Chris's treatment of Lily with my direct friend group, and that's only 6 people, and half of them already knew as they were also friends with Lily. So it's not like I'm screaming, hear ye in the town square. Our next post is by Famous Dust. Am I the jerk for getting my neighbor and client banned by all the local babysitters after they tried to renege on a deal? Over the holidays, I, F17, got a chance to go to the Caribbean with my neighbors as their nanny. My parents weren't thrilled, but it was after Christmas, so they let me go. The deal was pretty simple. It was 10 days at an all-inclusive resort. I would share a room with the kids and take care of them for 7 days and nights. In return, I got $500 and 3 days to myself. The rooms were adjoining, I think that's the right word. A door joined them. My parents insisted I get everything in writing, so there were no mistakes. Basically, we agreed that I would work 2 days and take 1 day off. Over and over. No problem, I thought, and I checked out the included activities and any excursions I might like. On my 3rd day off, I had planned to go scuba diving. I got up early and went on my excursion. When I got back, the parents were mad that I had left without warning. I reminded them that we had a deal, and they said that they had met another couple there and were going golfing, and that I screwed up their plans. I don't know why they made plans on one of my free days. They were upset all the way home. When we got back, they posted about how irresponsible I was. One of the other families called me to get my side of the story. I sent them a picture of the deal we agreed on. They said they knew I wouldn't do what I was being accused of. Then they started commenting on the posts by my neighbors. My parents did this also, but I think everyone thought they were just protecting me. So now it's a big deal, and everyone knows that they tried to change our deal without talking to me. Some of the other babysitters or their parents are now saying that they won't babysit for my neighbors anymore. I feel bad about it because they paid a lot for my vacation. and if they had asked, I probably would have switched my excursion to the last day. Anyway, they are upset that I narsed, which I didn't. They said that I could have talked to them if I had a problem, but I'm not the one who made it public. Our next post is by this ad. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that our daughters are no longer doing homework together and her kids' grades are hers to manage? My daughter has a best friend named Sarah. They are both in 4th grade. The two girls would do their homework together at the school's after program. School ended at 2:30 and I would pick my kid up at 4-ish. So they had time to do work. The issue started when I got a call for the teacher about cheating. Both girls' homework were identical. Even any sentence questions were word for word. I explained that the girls do the work together, and she made it clear that this isn't just helping each, it's basically copying at this point. She can't tell if either girls is struggling from the homework, but she knows one girl is due to test scores. She told me she is going to talk to the other parent also. I informed my daughter that she needs to do her homework by herself, that she can do it by herself after school or play, and we will do it when she gets home. She decided to do it by herself. It's been 2 weeks of this, and overall seemed fine. The other girl's parent confronted me today. She asked why the girls were not doing work together. I explained the cheating situation, and I thought that the teacher talked to her. She told me that they weren't cheating and just helping each other out, that her daughter's math score has gone down since. I informed her the kids are no longer doing work together and her kids' grades are hers to manage. If she is struggling now, then she needs to deal with that. She called me a jerk. Our next post is by Worried. Am I the jerk for refusing to babysit last minute and ruining the parents' important plans because their sons seemed older than they said they were? I, 19F, have been babysitting occasionally for a few families for the past 2 years. A week ago, a new family got my numbers from one of the families I babysit for a lot. I told them up front that I have this rule where I only babysit boys that are 10 and under, but when it comes to girls, the age isn't an issue for me. They told me they had 2 boys ages 9 and 10, so I agreed. They told me that they had very important plans the day I am to babysit, and I assured them I am very professional and will be there on time and all that. The day came and I went to their house and the dad greeted me, then took me to their living room to meet the boys. To my surprise, the boys looked like no other 9 and 10-year-old I've ever met. One looked 12 and the other looked he could be 15 or even 16. Both were taller than me, and the older one even had some visible facial hair. All that was going through my head was these parents lied to me about the ages because I lead with my rule about ages, and they lied to me just so I would accept. When the mother came down and greeted me, I asked to speak to her in another room, and I told her I cannot babysit. I was also truthful about the reason, and she was livid. We got into a back and forth where I basically said that I feel they lied about the ages, and she even said, "Oh, so you want me to show you their birth certificates to believe me?" At this point I was kinda mad because she was immediately livid and I also felt like I was fooled. Anyways, I said, yeah, some proof would help. She stomped off to the living room, and I could hear her tell her husband, "Get this beach out of my house, I will stay with the boys." I walked out of the kitchen towards the front door and announced I'm leaving before I stepped out. Later that night, the mom of the family who recommended me called and was also pretty angry. I explained that these boys looked so much older than they were said to be, and there was no way they weren't lying. She said maybe one is actually 11, but the other is truly 9, and that they just look like they were so much older. To be fair, the mother was tall and the dad was huge. It's actually the reason I asked to confront the mother and not the father. But boys weren't just tall but also looked older face-wise. Also, babysitting 2 strange boys who were both taller and clearly so much stronger than me doesn't feel safe, which is why I have the age rule in the first place. There was no way that their mother didn't realize her boys looked so much older than boys their ages. I feel like it was something she should have mentioned after telling her my rule about the ages. I felt like I was justified, but I also felt bad that I ruined their plans. Everyone involved is angry with me, and I wonder if maybe I was overreacting and should have just babysat since I agreed. Right now I don't know what to think. Was I the jerk here? Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.